Why can you never trust spiders? Because they post stuff on the web.
Episode 120 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is Chet Williams, with me as usual, John Denton.
What's happening?
We're going to do what we always do this week, go over the 10 games we've been playing over the past 7 days. The number 10s are the games we've been playing the least, number 1s are the games we've been playing the most. That's it, John, let's do this.
My number 10 is a game called Noir Syndrome that I found on a Steam sale. It's been the Steam sale, as everybody probably knows. I think it was only £1 or £1.50 or something like that, and it sounded really interesting. It was a procedurally generated film noir gumshoe detective game where every time the story's different and you've got to find the killer, and I thought that sounds cracking. Never been more disappointed in a game, I don't think. Turned it on and straight away it was very confusing. There was like a kind of menu screen that simulated your desk, but it was a bit shit. And then the game started and it's a side-on 2D job. Looks actually a bit like Gunpoint. But within seconds, I died the first time that I played it. So you're just like walking through this mansion. It's all shot from the side, and you can see the different levels of the house, and everybody's wearing. It's like Eyes Wide Shut, almost. They're kind of wearing weird masks. It's like one of those types of parties, but without all the shagging. Yeah. But the first time I just died. The second time I went through a door and then got shot. And then the third time, this guy in a mask started spouting some weird. Like single lines of dialogue at me that made no sense, and I went through another door, and then I just got shot again, and I thought, "What is this game? This is terrible." Severely disappointing. I went and checked out some reviews after the fact, after doing this, and they all seem to be pretty unanimous in this is a nice idea, but the execution's all over the shop. It's not really what it purports to be. Maybe it would have some merit if I gave it some more time. I'm not going to say that I've given it enough time to really judge it, but for what sounded like the coolest game ever, really, really took a nosedive pretty damn quickly.
What did you pay for it?
I did £1.50, not much. It wasn't even at a price that was a massive risk, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right. No, but that's why Steam is so wicked. I'd love to be able to just take a punt on a game like that and not know anything about it. You mentioned Gunpoint. Is that coming to consoles?
Not heard anything. Excuse me. Oh. I've not heard anything about that. It would be a good fit, but again, it does use the mouse, so I don't know. I think it's just done really, really well on Steam. It's always in the sales. It's always it's been in humble bundles and things. I think it's made him a fortune, to be honest. So good on him.
Yeah. What was this game called?
Noir Syndrome.
Noir Syndrome. Okay. All right. Pish. All right, my number 10 is a game called Mashapocalypse on the Xbox 360. I assume you haven't heard of this because it's a Xbox Live indie game.
It's nothing to do with Mashed, I'm assuming.
The racing game?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. Mashapocalypse. The first thing that happens is the menu screen comes up, obviously, and it's a black background with a load of random sort of Xbox 360 themed assets, like the A button, the B button, the right bumper, and so on. And then there's a theme song that plays that is 6 seconds long, and it just repeats and repeats and repeats. It's like, oh, we're in this neck of the woods, are we? This is going to be appalling. You start the game, and the game involves a tiny little square on the left-hand side of the screen, and there's a finish line on the right, and whatever appears in your little square is the button that you have to mash. So it will come up with A, hammer A, and it will move ever so slightly across the screen, and then it will change to like right bumper, and you hammer right bumper. Obviously, it's worthless on your own. That's all you're doing. You're trying to get to the other side of the screen by mashing buttons. There's not even a scoring system or a time limit. Press B 30 times, press A 30 times, press right bumper 30 times, and then you get to the finish line. But there is simultaneous 4-player local multiplayer, and you know what? I think it might be worth looking at next week, just to see what 4 people can make us. I'm sure it's not going to be Towerfall or anything, but it's not terrible. It's an idea. It works. It's incredibly basic. I think racing across the screen with button mashing might be quite entertaining if there's 4 of you. But yeah, Mashapocalypse. I wouldn't recommend it. Actually, hilariously, in the menus, there's an option to pick from one of 3 theme songs, and all of them are about 5 seconds long, just electronic noise, and it just repeats and repeats and repeats. So that's dangerous if you get stressed out by the sound of repetitive noise. But yeah, Mashapocalypse. Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to mute it. But yeah, that Mashapocalypse.
And that was just the trial, was it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's the full game as well. It's just you get the idea in about 0.8 seconds.
All right. Yeah, maybe we'll play that next week. We're seeing each other in real life next week. It happens every now and then.
Yes.
In case you're wondering what the hell we're talking about. Number 9 for me is Moto GP 14 on PlayStation 4. I've kind of always dipped in and out of these games over the years through different work commitments. And this is made by the same people that made that thoroughly fine motocross game a few months ago, Milestone. They're Italian. And this is probably the best one of their games that I've played. The PS4 version really does look quite nice. It doesn't look like the top-end next-gen racers, but yeah, I mean, the bikes look nice, the tracks look nice, the kind of atmosphere of it all has a kind of sense of place, which those games always feel like they're a small team pushing as hard as they can to do as much as they can with not a lot of money, and it still kind of feels like that, but it feels a bit more polished, and it does look nice. And I've always thought they play quite well. I've never ridden a motorbike. I don't know that much about MotoGP or the sport of racing very fast on 2-wheeled things, but they always seem to have a decent physics engine, and you certainly can't overcook the corners. That's probably the wrong word. Sorry if you know about motorbikes. And you can come off, and like it has some really cool animations where you can kind of I'm going to use that word again, overcook a corner, but then just like catch it again at the last second, and your rider will like have like one leg off the bike and then just get back on. And it's kind of, when you're in the middle of a pack of people doing that, it is actually pretty good. And yeah, I mean, what more can you say? It is what it is. There's like last seasons of, you can do like a scenario mode like you get in FIFA or something like that for what happened in last season's MotoGP, so you can rerun some of the best moments if you follow the sport. There's some like challenge champions mode where you can race against like classic MotoGP people, like classic Valentino Rossi and stuff like that. Again, I'm talking from a place of basic ignorance, so forgive me. But it seems, and judging by the reviews from people who do know what they're talking about, like the chap on Eurogamer, who I know is a big bike fan, it seems like the best game that they've done out of that team at Milestone.
Okay, I mean, have Milestone always done that? This is the Capcom one, isn't it?
Capcom had the license for a while, and then Milestone have had it for, I think, maybe 2 years. Before that, they were doing the SBK games, which is, from my ignorant point of view, are exactly the same, but they're clearly not if you know what you're talking about. And, before that, I think they were also doing some motocross stuff as well. I'm not sure. And then way back in the day, it was THQ, and I think it was Climax who did the MotoGP games, like the first one on Xbox, which is like one of the first Xbox Live games.
I thought that was EA. I don't remember.
I don't think EA have done any bike games apart from Road Rash.
It's almost certainly incorrect. I didn't. This has nothing, because I liked the Capcom games of a few years ago. So.
No, I think they were made in Japan. I think. I don't think it's the same development team, but then again, it probably is. Who knows? I don't. I'm pretty sure. No, because they're doing SBK. I'm very sure about that, because I remember being hassled to try and put that on the cover of 360 magazine many years ago. That wasn't going to happen.
Who's Blackbean? I thought Blackbean did the SBK games.
I think they became Milestone.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
They're the same people, I think.
We don't know what we're talking about.
I think we kind of do, for once. I think I do.
I thought Milestone was the publisher, and then maybe they merged.
They're definitely the developer as well. But I'm pretty sure they used to be called Blackbean. They just became one named thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thrilling stuff. Okay, are you going to play much more of that?
Unlikely, but good, solid stuff for sure.
Okay, yeah, I'd expect nothing less. Okay, my number 9 is a game called FIFA 14 on the Xbox One. As usual, I never had any plans at all to discuss this. Dave and I chatted about it briefly on last week's show, and he thinks it's great, and he is just wrong. I really do think this is the most unsophisticated football game to come out since probably the PS2 era. I feel kind of terrible having been so seduced by the polish and the amount of features because, yeah, it's the most underwhelming FIFA game easily since... When was the renaissance of FIFA? Was it FIFA 09 when it really became good again?
Yeah, that's when it started bringing the noise, yeah.
Yeah, it's the most underwhelming game since then. And like Dave suggested, I'm sure it would be slightly less frustrating if we started playing as, shitter teams.
Yeah.
But our friend Jay and I had a game on Co-op Seasons the other evening, which is just what we do. When we've been playing Battlefield or Titanfall, before we pack it in, we always have a quick go on FIFA 14. And the game we had the other night was hilarious, and I wish I recorded it, but I didn't. During the match, we were Real Madrid, and who were the other...
Barcelona, Man City.
Barcelona, I think it was Barcelona, and we did not win throughout the whole duration of the match a single ball in the air, not one. And I think around 80% of all of our passes were intercepted, and we were getting violently pushed and shoved, and never getting a foul. I mean, these players we were playing against worked out how to do everything bar headbutt us off the ball, and it wasn't a foul. I mean, it was ridiculous. We just look at the animations, like we just get torn across the screen, fall over, and it's like they've got the ball. What? No foul. Every through ball they did was received onside when they were 1-on-1 with the keeper, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's the problem. They were winning. No, they were thrashing the shit out of us. But we could do nothing to retaliate. I mean, Jay tinkered with the formation because I didn't know how to do all that crap. We did a few substitutions. We changed tactics, etc. But what can you do when the game screws you over as much as the players? Because it was 50%. 50% of it, I think, is just the game has been poorly conceived from the outset. And I think 50% was we were playing against people who were not especially brilliant at the game, but have worked out how to exploit all of its shortcomings. This, I think, is the fastest I've seen a sports game completely buckle under pressure. Because, even in the worst case, when you pick too many holes in like a FIFA or an annually released sports game, the new one is normally right around the corner. Yeah. You're ready for the new one. Here, I'm just like, get out. FIFA 14 does not deliver as far as I'm concerned. It's I really think it's rubbish.
Yeah, I'd never play it anymore, really. After playing a few games of Co-op Seasons on the Xbox One, I think the last generation version is better than the new generation version. Like you, are seduced by the visuals and stuff, which aren't exactly amazing, but some of it looks great. But yeah. All the PES stuff came out today. I'm really hoping that they nail that this year. They're doing stuff where they're updating it every week, with the new transfers and things. So you don't have to wait 10 years. If the fucker works online and it's on next gen, it's definitely on next gen. They're saying it's going back to being super responsive. Fingers crossed, because if you get a great PES that works online, I'm good. I don't need FIFA.
Yeah,
Co-op Seasons is a brilliant mode, and I wish there was something like that in Pro Evo, but there's not a lot of point playing it when it just makes you want to smash your TV through a window.
I mean, and that's all it's done for the last 2 months. I wish we still, because almost everyone I know upgraded to the Xbox One, so they ditched the 360, so I can't even play Pro Evo if I wanted to. Even competitive. I'd rather play against each other on Pro Evo than cooperative on FIFA 14.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's be interesting to see where it goes, because I think they've finally got to the point where they're starting to rest on their laurels a little bit too much.
Yeah, some of the stuff that they're trying to do for next year's game or this year's game sounds interesting. A lot of stuff around emotions and drama and things like that. The stuff I've been saying should have been in that game for years, but a lot of it seems like it might be coming through cutscenes, which is fine. But there are some fundamental problems with the game now that need to be addressed. Who knows? We'll see, and I'll play them both, of course.
Of course.
All right, my number 8 is a game called Deer Hunter 2014 on my phone. You can get this on iOS or Android. If anybody else listens to the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast, or as it's just called, the Steve Austin Show, this is one of the adverts that he sometimes runs on his show. So that's the only reason I played it. And it's pretty good. I mean, it's fucking shooting deers. It's a little bit horrible, but sometimes the deer's got to get shot in the lung, and it's just the way it goes down. It's done from a first-person perspective, but it's not. You don't move with the full freedom of an FPS. You can kind of shuffle left and right by touching the appropriate sides of the screen. Press a little target reticle icon, and then it brings up the scope. You can drag that around the screen, and then tap to fire. You want to make sure that you're getting a clean shot on the deer and you get points. It's a free-to-play game, so it does all the... you want to get this, upgrade, get this. It's a bit ugly, flashes adverts up at you and stuff like that. But in terms of how it handles, in terms of how it's a well-made piece of software, for sure. It's just like shooting deer, isn't it? I mean, it works well if you want to just shoot some deers on your phone for some reason.
Does he do the advert himself as well?
He does all the adverts himself, yeah. Which is why, basically I just end up paying for anything that he talks about.
All right. What was it called? Just Deer Hunt?
Deer Hunter 2014, yeah.
2014.
And Glue Games.
Glue Games, they do all of that stuff. What else have I played? Yeah. I think Glue Games are massive. I think they did that RoboCop game, the film tie-in I spoke about.
Oh, did they? I've seen those stuff before, definitely.
Yeah, me too. Okay, my number 8 is another fun game. It's on iOS, or rather, it's an iOS game. I played it on a tablet. It's Riptide GP 2. I played it on an iPad Mini. I've been getting hassled for the last month. My girlfriend has honestly not stopped. It's been relentless to get me to play this game, and I just kept asking why. It sounds rubbish, but it's really terrific. It's basically an iOS version of Wave Race, with loads of content, loads of variation in the environments and the goals you have to achieve and stuff. And it looks amazing. I mean, it looks about as good as the GameCube version of Wave Race did.
Right.
Perhaps better than that. There's a slider in the settings menu, and at the one end of it is smooth frame rate and one end of it's high resolution. I played it on my girlfriend's iPad Mini, which is the first one. I don't know if they've brought out any more since the first one, but she's got the first version of the iPad Mini, and there was a very mild stutter if you had the resolution on full. So I think it was probably better if we'd have knocked it down for a smoother frame rate, but it was basically fine either way. And yet there's fantastic tilt controls, which again you can modify quite a bit, and a really neat trick system, which is basically Tony Hawk, the trick system from Tony Hawk. It's sort of shrunken down. You use both of your thumbs in all directions, in all possible combinations, and if you repeat yourself, you're awarded less boost, because in order to play the game, you need to know tricks and earn boost, which is how you get ahead. It's really great. I mean, I can't vouch for it on a phone, but if you have a reasonably up-to-date tablet, I recommend it very highly. It's 69p, and you would have to work amazingly hard to spend any additional money on it, because my girlfriend showed me how much she'd done, and she'd done like about 90% of the levels of the campaign. And I dug through all of the menus because it was quite hard to find the store.
Right.
And she'd never. I showed it to her, and she's like, "I've never even seen that before." So yeah, it's really, really quite good. There's online multiplayer as well. We couldn't get it working, but she said she's used it, played it a few times, and it's developed by Vector Unit, who made the Hydro Thunder Hurricane. Was it on the 360?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which I think was pretty good, right?
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah. But yeah, I was really surprised. This really feels like a high-end console game. The controls are great, and yeah, Riptide GP2.
Do you know if it's on Android?
No idea. Have a look though. It's definitely worth paying for. Really, I mean, I'm properly good.
Yeah, that sounds quite fun, actually. It's nice to... It's weird. It's nice that it costs something, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I do know exactly what you mean. You do.
Here we go. It's on Android, 129, but yeah, looks good.
It's really good.
All right. Sweet. Okay, my number 7 is a game called Smarty Pins on a browser, really, but I played it on my phone. This is actually from Google. Have you seen or heard about this?
Smarty Pins, no.
Okay, it was like one of the Eurogamer sometimes runs those stories when they just talk about some game you need to play. I think the Jeffrey guy normally runs stories like that. This was one of those stories. It's a trivia game based around Google Maps. It asks you a question, and the answer is either a country or a city within a country that you have to pin on the map. And you start with 1,000 miles, and however many miles away you are from the actual answer, it gets subtracted from your total amount of miles. And you just have to keep answering, the high score is answering as many questions as you can before you run out of miles. Really simple game. But good fun. I always like being asked questions about countries and capital cities and shit. It's fun, it's addictive. You get little badges for getting past 5 questions, 10 questions, 20 questions, and whatnot. The quicker you do it, you get some bonus miles, so you can kind of hang on in there. I mean, systemically, there's nothing particularly interesting going on, but it's just well executed, and it's leveraging their technology that they already have. I don't know what purpose it serves for them, because there's always something insidious going on there. But it was fun. Fun game. I'd recommend playing it. Free Smarty pins, addictive.
Okay, are you going to play it again?
Yeah, definitely.
Smarty pins.
Yeah, just asking. It's questions like, painter blah 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 was born in this city, and then you've got it's not the whole world. It will sort of zoom into an area of Europe, say. So you've got like 5 or 6 countries, and then within there you have to try and you either know or you don't, and you kind of have to make educated guesses. But yeah, well made.
Is there a competitive element, not a scoreboard?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know on the answer to that question. I don't know. I was just competing against myself. But that's what you need, really, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. Okay. All right. Smarty pins. I'll check it out. Okay, my number 7, I don't know if it's on your list. It's Blue Estate on the PlayStation 4.
It's actually my number 5, but I can make it my number 6.
Okay, well, why don't you go ahead then?
Okay, so I played Is there four levels in this game?
I think there's 5.
Okay, so I played the whole of the first one, and the intro and whatnot. When you talked about it last week, I think I might have only been sort of half listening. I knew it was a light gun-esque game, but I thought it was one that controlled like a normal shooter, but it was just on rails. I didn't realise you actually moved the controller like a light gun. Yeah. So that was a nice surprise. Mechanically, like you said, it is. It's good. It works really well. It doesn't feel unwieldy with the controller because you can press L1 to just reset the reticle to the middle of the screen, and it's nice snapping off headshots and stuff like that. So I was kind of pleasantly surprised by that. Going in expecting a game that I was going to have to move it with a thumbstick, a reticle with a thumbstick. Actually playing it like a light gun game, I got used to it in a couple of less than a minute, I'd say. Apart from that, a bit of a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, really. Like you said, it's playing a lot for laughs, but I don't think I raised a smile. It didn't upset me. It was just, these aren't funny. These are like deeply unfunny jokes. Constantly, when it keeps stopping and the little messages come up at the bottom of it's like the hotel desk dinger. Jesus.
Hotel desk dinger?
Yeah, every time a little joke would come up, it would be like ding. Yeah, fucking crap. And obviously it's extraordinarily crass, offensive. I don't know, No. It's crass. It's sexist and ignorant, it's. Pick your battles, maybe, if you're going to get offended by something as shit as this. I mean, but yeah, it's not. It's the type of thing that I'd be fucking embarrassed if someone who doesn't play games came in and saw me playing this. Like when I get caught watching wrestling, there's nothing. There's not really any justification for it. It's just like, yeah, I know it's shit, but there's just this weird stripper, and that's the menu. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to turn it off. I'll turn it off. So yeah, I mean, but it was all right. I don't know if I have the inclination to play the next level because it did go on a bit, and there was a lot of baddies, and I didn't want to have to. It requires you to use the thumb pad occasionally, doesn't it, to do swipe gestures? Yeah. But a lot of those are when the guy's hair falls over his face, and you have to swipe it back up. It's funny the first time, but about the 12th time, it's pretty annoying. So I was hoping that I couldn't really face doing that again. But like, for what is essentially a shitty game based on some comic book property that I'd never heard of, unsurprisingly, quite a cool way of doing it, like a light gun game instead of that's a better way of playing with a smaller budget than trying to do a big game badly. Yeah,
true. I mean, I finished it, but I tried going back and playing a little bit on hard, and it's fine. I think easy, normal's too easy, and hard is a little harder. I'm not going to play through it again, no way. No. I just thought I'd go back and see what it was like, and I did the first level. It's a game that does get better, a lot better as it goes on.
Does it?
So when you start getting machine guns and sort of diving all over the place, I think it gets a lot more fun. But yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, what you said it is. It's kind of. I mean, if you imagine it's very polished. I mean, the way it feels, it's like a Time Crisis update with a very good score system and leaderboards and stuff. And sadly, a load of stuff that's all the wise guys and the strippers and all that stuff. I mean, that's just boring and really cliched, and it's just
some of the one-liners the guys coming out with are just crap. I can't even remember a single minute of it. But every time he said something, I was like, Jesus, someone wrote that and someone else signed it off.
I know.
Wow.
And again, that gets progressively worse and worse. Actually, funny enough, with regards to, I said last week that it never once made me laugh, and compared it to Colin Hunt, which I still think applies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it never once made me laugh. But I do think I smiled once. Not a smile, it was more like a smirk. Whenever you're, like you said, the hair flops in your eyes, every time the guy says, I can't see these mooks, which is not funny, but I think the slightest hint of a smirk may have come across my face when it got said for the 3,000th time, just because repetition is very amusing. But Blue Estate, yeah, the trimmings are embarrassing, but yeah, it's a really, really fun,
Yeah.
well-made
Where did
game.
it come from?
Who knows? I don't know. I wouldn't be so. I can't find any fans of that comic book. I was kind of trying to research it a little bit because I wrote a review of it, and it just seems like it just appeared out of nowhere. So maybe it was concurrently developed with the game. I don't know. It's a bit of a mystery, really.
Yeah, odd one. But maybe I'll play a bit more of it.
It's definitely
when no one else is in the house.
Yeah, it does get better as it goes on, for sure.
Okay, so that kind of doubled as my number 6, didn't it? So
yeah,
back to you.
Well, my number 6 is Watch Dogs on the Xbox One. Don't have a lot to add. I'm still taking it in very small chunks, and I still really like it. The action is really, really tight. The world, as everyone says, is really drab, but I can forgive it that because I like the moody music. I like the atmosphere. I'm following the plot. It's no game-changing game, but it's rock-solid entertainment. I mean, it's a carbon copy of Grand Theft Auto, but it's a very, very well-made one, and it's kind of a shame that a few of my friends don't have it because I would quite like to explore the multiplayer a bit more. I've heard great things about some of those modes. But yeah, I've got nothing really to add. I think it's pretty hard to deny that the actual gameplay is like pretty formidable, the gunplay especially. And, I'm not expecting to get drawn into it or spend as much time with it as like a Grand Theft Auto, but I'm almost playing it like it's a linear game because the open world and the side activities, I've got no interest. But as a big, slightly dumb but very entertaining action game, I'm liking it, and I'm also not binging on it. I'm doing it in little bits, and that's the best way to do it. I think it's it's a good game. I think.
Yeah, I need to get back to it. I haven't had a chance really, but I think I'm just going to mainline it when I do to try and get through the story. I've done all the different, I've done versions of every side quest in the game. The gang hideouts are quite good, but they also are very similar to how a lot of the story missions work. Yeah. So I don't need to play those, but I do. Yeah, it's sitting there next to my PS4 that I need to just find time to. Unfortunately, that it's still another 10 or so hours from where I am till the end, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I will do. I still liked what I played too, so it didn't upset me or offend me in any way. Yeah, offend my sensibilities.
Likewise.
Sweet. Okay, my number. Where the hell are we now? 5. I've been playing some more Broforce on PC. My nephew, he's my nephew now, yeah. He wasn't before, but now he is. My nephew came to see us this weekend. It was my little boy's birthday, so I had family here. And, like I said, he's now at the age where we can game it up, which is excellent. And I downloaded his version of Broforce to my PC, and we played some co-op, which we weren't able to do on his computer back at his house because he didn't have 2 controllers. And it's just an excellent game. It is a fucking excellent game. Even it's still in early access. Quite what it needs to have done to it, you can't tell because it feels so solid. Maybe there's more levels to come or something like that, but it's quite hard. So we didn't run out of levels, if that makes any sense. It felt like a game that's supposed to be played on co-op as well, because one of the main conceits of every level is that you find other people from the Broforce as you're going through the level. The levels are fast, and it'll change your character to a random another random member of the Broforce. So you might be Blade, and then you find someone in Chuck Norris, and then you're fucking Van Damme from Hard Target, and then you're Rambo. But in co-op, if the other guy dies and then you rescue someone, they get to be the person that you rescued, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So the game seemed weirdly harder like that, but also better balanced. And yeah, all the characters are brilliantly well realised. They all feel completely different. They all have really funny attacks, but attacks that are suitable to their character and different. You'll have your favourites, and they play in different ways. The action's great. The scenery explodes. There's just death and violence everywhere, but it's done in a really good way. Yeah, the humour doesn't get in the way. There's not. It's that kind of Team America thing, but it's all done very, very quickly. It never hangs about, and it is really good. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. It is really very, very good.
They've got no. Is there a date in place for when it's actually going to come out properly?
Not that I've seen. Yeah, and not that I've seen. It can't be far off, unless it is a case where they've got two worlds. Say that I've not got to the end of the second world. In the can, and they're just building more content on the back of it, but they've got their engine and everything sorted, or maybe they're putting a bunch more characters in, I don't know, but I mean, there's a shitload of characters in there already, absolute shitload, and they're all great.
Wicked. Okay, I mean, I haven't even seen a screenshot, I just...
we'll have a game next weekend. I think it's 4-player, so...
Great. Oh, good. Okay, yeah, that sounds terrific.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Gotham City Imposters on the Xbox 360, which is one of this month's games with gold. I played the trial back when it first arrived. It's Batman, guys dressed up as Batman versus guys dressed up as Joker. I think that there is no story. There purports to be at the beginning, but I just switched off because it's just nonsense. But I think back when it came out, I was pretty much on track to buy the whole game. I remember vaguely describing it as a combination of Brink and Battlefield, and I don't think that's massively far wide. Although today, right now, it kind of feels like a really, really early last-gen prototype for Titanfall that got scrapped.
Okay.
One plus of trying this now is that I think I recall there being server issues at launch, and now obviously people can play it without those problems. Although you do need to download 3 large compatibility packs when you download the game. So if you're thinking about downloading it, you should probably be aware of that. Yeah, it's a shooter. It's a Battlefield-style shooter, or Call of Duty, I should probably say. But you have this grappling hook, and you can use your cape to float around. There's a grapple meter, so you can't overdo it, and you have these spring boots, so you can jump off specific platforms. At first, the grappling and the launch pads and all that stuff seemed completely pointless because the first 2 maps I played, it's multiplayer only. The first 2 maps I played were set largely indoors, and people were just playing it like a Call of Duty knockoff. But then towards the end of those 2 games, I started to notice that our opponents were sort of using the outskirts of the building to grapple round the side and flank us. And I was like, okay, cool. But then after that, on I think it was the 3rd or the 4th game I played in this massive open level with these massive buildings that were all accessible, sort of the upstairs and down, but it was predominantly outside. And people were just flying all over the place and sort of hook-shotting around. I was just like, this is really, really quite good. For people who have an Xbox 360 and are looking for a shooter, this is a pretty great freebie, really. If you're not playing anything else at the moment, from people, myself and people in the same situation as me, if I played this instead of Titanfall, I should probably be able to section myself. Because why would you go back and play? As good as it is, I just kind of sat there wanting to play Titanfall, but that's nothing against the game. I thought it was really fun. I ended up teaming up with a couple of guys, and we were just running around, flying about. It's a very, very good idea, and it's well executed. It's made by Monolith, who did the Fear games, I think. It's a really, really well made game, but I have no reason to play it personally. If you do have a 360, then you're probably enjoying it if you've got games with gold, because it's a good game.
Yeah, for some reason, at first I thought it was a racing game, like a kart game, and then afterwards I thought it was a third-person game. So I didn't really realise what it was until you just explained it then. I think you talked about it before as well, but I must have forgotten. I can not see myself having the time to play that at all, but it does sound cool.
It's well made. The perk system and the upgrade system's well thought out. It's in a way it's kind of a shame that I have no reason to play it, but. I'm sure people who do, laughing.
All right. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
My number 4 then is actually Bioshock Burial at Sea Part 2.
Finally.
Well, yeah, I've been meaning to play this for ages, and it was in the Steam sale. There was an amazing Bioshock deal in the Steam sale where you could get 1, 2, and Infinite for like £6 in total, which is nuts. And I think with the season pass, you get the whole thing for 12. But Burial at Sea Part 2 is a £5, so I bought it, which is great. I've been hoping it would go down in price at some point. I must have played maybe the first hour and a bit. Really, just the opening just pulled me straight back in when you're just walking around as Elizabeth in this kind of dreamlike Paris. and everybody's talking to you in French, and it just straight away just captured that same sense that I had from Infinite itself and the first Bear at Sea that I really, really enjoyed. My concern with it going forward, I like the gameplay. I must say the changes. It's more stealth orientated. It actually feels more like you're playing the first Bioshock. And obviously you're going through Rapture, and some of it's the same environments, but they look, they're more dilapidated or something. And my only concern with it, and this is just like one of those concerns that you have before you finished a thing, that really are kind of baseless and meaningless because they don't matter until you finished it. Like people worrying about things from press releases instead of worrying about finished games. But my concern with it, slight concern that might come up, is that it's going to over-explain everything that happens in the Bioshock story and tie it all in a little bow. I don't know if that is going to be the case or not. I just worry that it's going into a little bit too much depth of how everything works. And what I liked about Infinite, people picked up, I've talked about this obviously a lot, but people pick holes in the plot and very, very complicated plot, but I just kind of liked the mystery and the complication of it, and the sense that you didn't quite know what was happening. I don't need to know everything that's happening. This is, again, like I said, these are potentially baseless concerns. This is just what I was thinking as I was playing through the first hour, but excited to be back in that world. I've been meaning to play it for ages, obviously. Kind of ridiculous that I hadn't, because considering how much that I loved the main game and the first Bear at Sea, but just excited to go back. I'd have probably finished it by this time next week.
It's. I love the second one. I don't recall. I remember feeling that it was as weird and off the wall as Bioshock's ever been. So I don't think that you were in any danger of it being over explained. I'm pretty sure it's as enigmatic as the rest of it.
That's a good word for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I will play that again at some point. I'd like to think so, because I like the whole package. But the two DLC pieces were very, very good indeed.
Yeah.
Did you buy the Horde mode, the first bit that came out?
No, I didn't actually. Clash in the Clouds or what? Something I can't remember. Right, is that what they called that?
Yeah. Right.
No, I actually didn't. No,
I may even pick that up at some point, just because. Yeah, it's a good game. Okay. My number 4 is a game called Max: The Curse of the Brotherhood on the Xbox One.
Yeah, I have this downloaded, but I haven't played it yet.
It's like surprisingly good. I mean, I've only played the opening maybe 2 hours, but while I've been working over the past week, maybe it's 2 weeks, my girlfriend has been playing it. She's basically played it from beginning to end in the same room as me, so I've seen most of it happen. So I doubt I'll finish it, because there are no surprises in store, because I've sort of seen. I'm watching over my shoulder a lot of the time. But I'm telling you, it's a massive mystery why nobody is talking about this, because maybe it's the smaller install base of Xbox One, because it's predominantly an Xbox One game. It's on 360 as well, but it's an Xbox One game. But it's basically a Walt Disney or maybe a Pixar sort of rendition of Limbo.
Right.
It's kind of a side-scrolling, puzzle-heavy platformer that's not shy about taxing you. I mean, later on it gets really, really quite difficult. The production values are through the roof on Xbox One. I mean, and it's got these great enemies that all look like they were inspired by sort of Jim Henson stuff from the 1980s. So you see these big monsters that look like they're from Labyrinth or something, or the Dark Crystal. It's a sequel to, what was it called? The Max and the Magic Marker, I think it was called, and I think it was on WiiWare first, and then I played it on iOS and Android, and it was quite a neat game. I didn't play it for very long, but you still play as this bequiffed child, and you run through areas whilst also interacting with them using this giant marker pen, and it's really mild at first. You're creating vines to swing on, and then raising platforms out of the ground. But then it gets really elaborate, and you sort of enter these really vast areas, and you're doing things like redirecting explosive charges and jets of water, and being asked to solve like pretty fiendish physics puzzles. Like I said, I played the opening 2 hours, but there were a few bits where like we passed the pad rounds, and I did some of the later levels. I really loved watching it. There was no performance issues, some huge action sequences and stuff. But every half hour or so, my girlfriend would just get Tourette's and say, "This game's broken. It's glitched. This is awful. This is the end of the game. You can't progress past this. This is the end. This is the end of the game." Which, she's slowly, little by little, turning into me. But the outright brilliance isn't. She never said it was outright brilliant, but she finished the game and she did love it. But it seemed to frustrate the ever-loving shit out of her. So it's one of those games. I mean, I think it's one of those games where if you play it too much, you just need fresh eyes, because there were a couple of instances where she threw the pad at me and I just did it straight away. So I think it's probably something you should do in little bits and pieces. But it is really slick, really expensive. And just, I don't know why Microsoft are not shouting about it, if only to highlight the diversity of some of the stuff on Xbox One, because this is a model game for kids. I mean, they should be trying to sort of, I don't know. This is sort of come out of nowhere for me. This free game that I thought was going to be garbage, and it's actually looks. If not, it's no masterpiece. I don't think, because there did seem to be some real issues with difficulty spikes later on. But from what I've played, pretty terrific.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out. Like I said, I have it downloaded on my Xbox One, so all good. I mean, that sounds right.
It's definitely, clearly, I like to think it's very clearly been influenced by Limbo. There's a very similar feel to some of the later bits, although it's bright and sort of Disney-esque colour and whatnot, but it's... there is a sinister sort of feeling later on. But yeah, it's good. I mean, I really think everyone who's downloaded it and is thinking about not trying it should probably try it.
I will. I shall. Okie dokie. Rattling through it this week. It's good. Yeah. My number 3 is, again, it's Towerfall Ascension. Out this week on PlayStation Plus or PS4. Definitely download this game. I tweeted out today that I think I might have underscored Towerfall, and I gave it a 9 for Eurogamer, so I think you get the impression that it is rather good. I played some this weekend on PC with 4 players for the first time, which was unbelievably fantastic. I cannot believe how good it was. Just a game that you can learn in a minute, but the depth of control and how much spatial awareness you need to have to be good at it is it's just brilliant. It's just the skill ceiling is really, really high, but it's not asking you to learn combos or controls or anything beyond this very simple jump, shoot, and then the dodge button, which also doubles as catching arrows, and that's it really, and a few power-ups in there. But what it does, this game, constantly, is create moments, and the best multiplayer games create moments, whether it's a football game, whether it's a shooter, it doesn't matter. It's all about moments, and this is just constant amazing moments. There's a reason it replays the final kill at the end of every game, and you can save those replays if you want, because some of them are absolutely outstanding. Some of them are hilarious. You might shoot an arrow straight up in the air, not be paying attention, it hits a lamp, you've moved out of the way, but on the way back down it hits you. Or you might leap across the screen, 2 different people try and shoot you, catch both their arrows, fire one through a flaming candle, that catches one guy, fire one the other way, that hits the other guy, they might catch it. It's an absolute crack. I mean, it's just a masterful piece of software, I cannot wait to play it with you and our other buddies next weekend, because it's going to be, I promise you, this will be the game that we play all weekend. I actually played on the PS4 some of the single player, which I've been a bit harsh on when I reviewed it. I played it, but I think because I played it before playing a lot of multiplayer, I kind of abandoned it thinking it wasn't very good. It is actually very good. I played quite a fair bit of it today. What it does, it's almost like a training ground for playing the multiplayer, because it constantly teaches you about being aware of all your surroundings and all the different ways you can get fucked over from up, down, left, or right. And it's also very challenging. So how it works is the game has a number of maps. I think it's like 8 or 9, and each level's set on one of those maps, and within that it has maybe 6 or 7 stages within it, which is just basically a wave of enemies, and it's just a mix of the enemies that they choose. There's no enemies in the multiplayer game. It's all designed for a single player. So you might get these little flying eyeballs, and they have a certain type of attack, and then you've got these little hooded guys with knives, and they can deflect your arrows from the front, so you have to jump on them or get them from behind. And they can also dodge, and then there's guys who come and have their own arrows, and they can catch arrows. Ghosts that dodge an arrow but then get dizzy, so you can jump on their head. Sounds probably made it sound more complicated than it is. It's not complicated at all, but they're just really fun skill challenges. It's still not what the game is. The game is a multiplayer game. You can actually play that single player mode in co-op, but the game is a multiplayer game. But Yeah, I was unduly harsh, I think, on that mode. It is actually really well made and a good training ground. But what I'm really pumped for is just playing it with you guys next week. And I urge anybody who has a PS4, download it. Even if you only have one controller and you don't intend to play it, on the off chance, when that time comes, when you do see someone else with a PS4 controller, or if you have a second controller, or obviously if you live in a situation where you have people to play with on the reg, then this is an absolute masterpiece. I think even in the relatively short amount of time I played it for a multiplayer game, I think it's probably a 10.
Yipes. The beauty of that game is I don't even know what it looks like. I don't know anything aside from what you told me about it. So
you can understand it within one match. It's so simple. It was brilliant. A room full of, 4 people in the room. My brother, my nephew, and my wife's sister's boyfriend. Yeah, that's right. And the 2 of us had played it before. We played against each other, and they both understood it straight away. Within the space of us playing a 5-minute game of it, they were both okay. And everybody could play to a standard. So, and you fuck up, and you do amazing things. It's just what a cracker. It's only going to get better too.
Okay, so it is actually worth me looking at the single player.
I would actually probably not bother, only because. I'm talking about you specifically, only because I think it would be more fun if we just launch into it after a couple of drinks next week. But I'm literally only talking to you here.
Okay.
But generally speaking, I actually think it is probably worth playing a single player. But whether it'll be fun if you don't know how glorious the multiplayer is first, I don't know. And obviously there's no online multiplayer, which isn't coming either.
Yeah. Today or yesterday they announced that PlayStation 4 controllers work on PS3. It's not vice versa, is it?
No, sadly not. Sadly not.
Okay, all right. Well, I won't touch it then to give you the leg up you so desperately need.
Yeah.
But okay, well, yeah, I can't wait to play that. My number 3 is Another World 20th anniversary, 20th anniversary edition on the Nintendo 3DS. It's on every format. It's on Xbox One, PS4. It's on every format. Did you play Another World back in the day?
Yes, I did, and loved it.
Did you finish it?
I did, using a guide, I think. But I was pretty young.
Yeah, I was obsessed with it when I was a kid. I don't think I finished it. But I was picking this up again was a no-brainer. But I don't know how appealing this will be to anyone who didn't play it originally, because it's the sort of visuals are very much the same. They've sort of polished them up a bit. You can jump between 2 visual styles. I'm sure it's the same on all formats, but I played on 3DS. But it's basically the same game with some updated music as well. Although again, you can have the old school music if you want. The weirdest thing that struck me about the beginning, there's a cutscene at the very beginning. It reminded me of that Kevin Bacon Invisible Man. The Invisible Man? Hollow Man, that's it. The cutscene at the beginning is, I'm sure, it feels like a shot-for-shot thing of Hollow Man, where he speeds up in his sports car and then he sort of goes into this secluded underground lab and I don't know, maybe because I watched that movie recently and it felt like there were shots that were just borrowed. It's almost certainly in my imagination, but the game is what it was still many years ago, in that it's a brilliantly realised world and the gameplay is based entirely around a control scheme that's, to be kind, is very, very quirky. I mean, the main character has the wettest moveset in the history of the world. He has the daintiest little kick and the daintiest little jump. It's like more of a skip. So it's often incredibly difficult, although kind of pointedly so, because you're playing as a character who would never be an action hero in a million years. It's basically a short story. The storytelling's so punchy, and I couldn't even think of anything to compare it to, because the game is the perfect length. I mean, it's something that if you ran through it, you could probably do it in about a quarter of an hour. But it's the perfect length. Luckily, I still remembered bits and pieces. But if you can hack the unforgiving difficulty, it's basically, for what it is, it's basically perfect. It's kind of, at the same time as being a perfect artifact of gaming history, it's also a brilliant kind of blueprint for game developers about how to meld gameplay with non-interactive stuff, because it's in a strange way, it's almost relentless plot or small embellishments of the world, because every little screen is infused with sort of in addition to the sort of very raw but very immediate gameplay. There's just things happening, like there's the story's being told to you without you even knowing it at some points. It feels influential to some of the games I've played recently, but I don't know if it's been done better. I just felt like I was being told a story as I was playing it, and it's short and it's punchy. I mean, it explains absolutely nothing. I still remember how simultaneously thrilled and infuriated I was when I first discovered many years ago that you could use your ray gun to build a shield, because it took me 300 times dying to figure that out. I have to say, though, I am kind of interested in how I respond to games these days that require you to fail before you can progress, because I don't. Listen, I was keen to write off games that do that, because in a lot of instances it's just very, very fucking lazy. But I don't know. This here, I mean, this was like bang, 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 figure it out. And for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's just genre preference or your mood at the time, I'm not sure, or maybe the fact that I played this back in the day, I don't know. I'm keen to think about that and reflect upon it a bit more, because that's very odd. I'm sort of discovering games all the time that I think are just basically unplayable, and then games that are structured in very similar fashion that aren't at all. But I don't know. But anyway, Another World. I'm very interested to see what people think of it who never played it originally. But it's kind of perfect for what it is, even now.
Yeah, I might have to pick that up on one of the consoles. I am kind of interested. I'll probably play it through the guide again just to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's, I do think they've overpriced it a little bit. I think
much
it's
is
about
it?
The best part of £4, I think.
Oh, I thought you were going to say £12.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, but for a game that, like, I mean, I did it in, I don't know, but it's a short but perfectly formed little game.
Yeah.
So some people, if you have the right mind for it, you could finish it very, very quickly. But I'd still recommend it. The quality is there after all.
During you talking about Another World, a fucking tarantula just crawled along the floor of my house, and it's gone behind where all my TV and games are, and it's disappeared. So I'm, kind of shaken up by that situation.
Yeah, are you paying for a hotel when we come down next weekend?
Yeah, this is after the photo of the giant grasshopper that came into my house earlier today.
Locust, it was.
It wasn't a locust, but he was all right. This guy, less so.
It's not bigger than that, is it?
Same size.
Oh, Jesus.
I took that photo really close, though. It wasn't actually very big.
That looked like that could have fed a family of 5. Like I said, it looked like a giant winged serpent. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. A winged serpent. All right. My number 2, I'm kind of just keeping a corner. Just please don't crawl on my feet. My number 2 is Titanfall. This is going to be on your list, I assume. Is it your 2 or 1?
My number 2, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, yes, they have included a new mode in Titanfall, which I've forgotten the name of. So why don't you start by saying the name of the mode?
Well, it's the 4th patch, but the game mode's called Marked for Death.
That's right, Marked for Death. And the 4th patch. Did we work out how much the patch changed in terms of performance? Did it change the performance at all? It feels a little smoother to me, but...
Yeah, having played it a ridiculous amount since it dropped, I'd say it's definitely improved the performance.
Yeah, it's still by no means perfect. It's a bit screen teary and it does drop from time to time. Hopefully one day they can actually sort that when they're using the increased performance of the machine. But regardless, the patch also... changes a couple of little bits. We'll get into that in a bit. But what's the fucking mode called again?
Marked for Death.
Jesus Christ.
Steven Seagal.
It's the fucking spider. It's spun me right out. So this new Marked for Death mode. Titanfall's been kind of needing new modes for a little while, I'd say. As wonderful as it is, and as much as I've absolutely loved every minute of it, it just needed a couple more game modes, and that's exactly what we're getting. The first of which is this, where we've all played game modes where you get one person per team who's like the mark, and you have to go and kill that person. The other team has to protect them. That's in quite a few games. It's in Gears. It's in loads of games, isn't it? But this changes it by the second the mark gets killed, it changes. You get another set of marks on either team. So it just everything about Titanfall has always been about pace. So it manages to maintain that pace for a mode which is... I've never really enjoyed those modes in other games before, but this one I think is brilliant. It does a brilliant thing where it counts you down to the next time it's going to... I just had a fucking clicking. It counts down to when the next person's going to be marked, and if it's you get a little countdown so you know you need to fucking bolt, and that always sends a chill down my spine. Not as much as the spider, but it always sends a chill down my spine when that happens, because you're like, shit, right? I'm the target. And you need to try and quickly work with your teammates to protect yourself, or if you're going to go balls to the wall, try and take out their target while you are the target. That's kind of ultimate ballsy move. It's the first to 10, and it's good if you're with a full team. It's great. If it's only like, as it was a couple of times, me and you, and then randoms, you get you get really disappointed in your teammates. Just I can't believe you got yourself killed. But just a really, really clever new mode that fits in perfectly. I'm sure they could have lifted any number of mode or game types from other shooters quite easily, but this fits in with the pace of Titanfall beautifully. And I just think it's a great new mode, and apparently it's going to switch out or something, and there's going to be another new mode. They're going to keep switching them out. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure why they're not going to leave them in rotation, because they have actually put this in full rotation with the other modes. But yeah, the next one up I think is it's another Gears of War riff. What's the Wingman? But it's Last Titan Standing, but it's teams of 2.
Oh, okay.
So that should be quite interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark for Death. When I heard about it, I was like, because those game modes are normally so slow paced, like someone gets killed and then the game restarts, but it's just like bang, 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 and they have they've Titanfalled it up. It's really, really high speed, and it feels completely different. And of course, like everything else, communication is important, and strategic use of your Titan, either to protect yourself or to sort of ferry teammates out of the way. I hope they keep it in rotation. I'm not sure why they're going to sort of. I'm curious as to why they bring a great game mode in and then they're going to take it away. I have to say I'm not sure why they're doing that. But
maybe they don't want to have too many because it will be harder to find a game. But it seems like there's loads of people playing on Xbox One. So
yeah, I know they had that problem on PC with you couldn't play Capture the Flag unless it was part of the mixed server.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be a shame if it disappeared though, because it's a really, really great mode. In addition to that, they've also added some new Titan weapon burn cards, which I am pretty sure they're going to modify because they're all over the place. Have you noticed any of these?
Is this like the one where you can see in all the buildings?
No. I mean, they're brand new burn cards. They're just the weapons that you have, the weapon that you Titan. But they're all over the shop. I mean, I almost destroyed a Titan single-handedly with one round of amped triple threat rounds.
Oh, yeah.
But on the other hand, the amped arc cannon feels the same as the regular version. It barely does anything. So I think there's balancing issues. There are the usual round of alterations with any patch. Most of them are changes to pilot weapons, although I've not noticed anything too drastic. Apparently the shotgun's been nerfed a little bit, but I didn't notice that.
Maybe a tiny bit, but it was still beastly.
Yeah, they've modified the kick. A couple of my friends insisted that it's in my imagination, but I think it demands more accuracy. It's hard to tell exactly.
I can't believe people don't believe you. It definitely does. Yeah,
and it's a slight difference, but it's because having done that so many times, it felt like something I'd mastered, and now I'm finding it more difficult to pull off. Also, now a really good thing is that when your Titans are in AI mode, they're a lot more fiendish. They'll use smoke and deploy shields, and I've already had in the last week about 6 kills from my auto Titan. So they're really good. Actually, they will kill pilots if they're not careful. So yeah, there is insignia and there's new voices for your Titans OS, and they show on the menu screen before you go into a game. It shows your win-lose streak.
Yeah, I like that.
For the last
nice
10
touch.
games. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, and also burn cards can be selected at the touch of a button rather than you having to go into a sub menu. So it's a really great update. I don't think they've done anything wrong. They've made some really smart changes. I think the Titan burn cards need to be looked at, but apart from that, it's made a fantastic game slightly more fantastic.
It has, and those new maps we were hammering those the other day. They are really good. The 3 new maps.
They are. I mean, prolonged play. They really are. I mean, we knew they were good, but we've been playing them a lot. I mean, especially the one that we said was the most boring, the one that kind of looks just like you'd expect it to, with a lot of brown.
Yeah.
And that on Capture the Flag is absolutely just superb. I've been playing that a lot, and they've thrown in loads of new achievements for playing on those maps as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is it's nice, I suppose. So, but yeah, it's Titanfall. I can't get enough at the moment.
Yeah, I'm up for a bit more tights. Apart from
Always.
this is the same room where the spider is, so I'm never going to play another video game again until I find it and kill it.
Well, he'll probably sneak into your room in the night and bite your ass.
Oh, if I'm asleep, I don't care.
Well, he's probably got like poisonous. They're all killers. They're all just waiting to pounce.
I mean, there's something satanic about spiders, no doubt. I mean, I don't like any creature that moves fast is what I don't like. So that's why I didn't like that grasshopper, because they move really quickly and it just makes me jump, and I hate being made to jump. I fucking hate it. But spiders are something else. They chill me to the fucking core. And I'm all right with them. I'm not too bad. I'm not as bad as some people, but they still chill me.
It's a fairly recent development that some of them can jump. And I've seen...
in England, you mean?
Well, I don't know. When I was maybe I just never knew about it when I was a kid. But when I was a kid, they never talked about jumping fucking spiders. And I've seen spiders jump, like hop, and I'm like, if I saw one of those and it was big enough, and I had a gun in my hand, I'd blow my brains out. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with a spider like that. It's just they are evil. They are definitely evil. So.
And we live in the most pussy country for spiders probably in the world, apart from like Iceland. Yeah, but still.
Might move to Iceland one day. Just make sure that thing's dead before we come over, for God's sake. Can you like have Rent-A-Kill come around or something?
Yeah, I'll make sure it's dead.
Right.
Hopefully it's not Spider Week when you come over.
What's Spider Week?
When I kept finding about 5 a day last year. genuine fear.
Yep.
Who's first now?
It's your number one.
Okay, my number one is Killzone Shadow Fall Intercept mode, which I was asked to review for Eurogamer, and so I did. And this is the new DLC for Killzone Shadow Fall, which basically introduces a new cooperative mode to the game. What it kind of sounds like, if you vaguely pay attention to the name of it and the marketing, is that it's going to be some sort of story-driven co-op, but it's not. It's Horde mode. So they just basically put Horde mode in the game. They've put 3 new maps. Was it 4? I can't remember now. That's not much. I think it's 3. And class-based 4-player Horde mode. And it is surprisingly good. I don't like the single-player game on Killzone Shadowfall. As we've talked about before, it is crap. I don't like the multiplayer that much. I think it's fine, but I just think there are much better multiplayer games out there. But this is certainly about as good a Horde mode as you could ask for. I think it's definitely the best Horde-type mode since Mass Effect 3. Maybe not quite as good as Gears at its best, but really good strategic Horde mode. Basically, the wrinkle, as Americans like to say, is that you have to get points by shooting baddies and whatnot, capturing. The whole thing's actually, I'll rewind slightly. The whole thing's based around 3 capture points, domination style. The baddie Helghast are trying to capture your points, and you're trying to stop them. You have to get above a certain number of points, not capture points, actual points, like numbers. And every time you die, it takes quite a lot of that currency to respawn. So what you have to do is capture points and kill baddies. That will earn you points, but you have to run then back to the central base and bank them, like fucking Crystal Maze. And that just kind of gives the game a risk-reward dynamic, because obviously I should say that the longer you stay out and don't bank your points, the higher your multiplier goes. So you've got to risk staying out there trying to get loads of points, and if you die, obviously you lose them. So you want to risk getting as many points as you can before you leg it back to base and bank them. So that's a really cool little touch, I think, and that changes the flow of how a Horde mode works, because you can't rely on everybody being there at the same time, or you can't just sit there and kind of work out good positions to hold fire, because not only do you have to be moving to the capture points, but you have to be heading back to base as well. The classes are simple. There's an assault class, a medic class, sniper class, and like a guy who can drop turrets and shit. But they all work well with each other. It's one of each. It's not like you can have 2 of one or anything like that. It's just one of each. And yeah, it's really solid. It's a really solid mode. It's part of the season pass. I'm not too sure how much it costs. I think it's just a few quid. I don't think it's too expensive. And apparently it's coming as a standalone game later in the year, I assume for download only, which suggests to me there's going to be more content, maybe more maps. I think it's the best thing in Killzone Shadow Fall. I was pleasantly surprised, and actually, after a while, started to think this is actually really good fun. And I was only playing with randoms, but it really does. It's one of those games that you can't really fuck about, even if you're playing on your own with randoms, because you're only going to have less fun than if you use teamwork. That you're going to have more fun, you're going to get more points by using teamwork. So me and these 3 random guys weren't even communicating, but the game does a good job of kind of offering you visual clues and feedback from the way the in-game characters speak to what's going on, so you don't actually necessarily need to be on a headset, which is good. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. Best one of those modes I've played in ages.
Fair enough. I really liked Killzone Shadow Fall's multiplayer, as appalling as the campaign was. Is there still a community there?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, because it's still the only, apart from Ghosts, the only shooter on PS4 really, and Battlefield. But it's the only one that's only on PS4.
Yeah, right. But it is good. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was loads of people playing it, because I'd like to play that again myself at some point. Okay, so you said you didn't know how much it was on its own.
Sadly not. No, sorry. That's a poor show from me. But what do you expect?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. What do you expect? Okay, my number 1 is a game called Sniper Elite 3 on PlayStation 4 rather. It's on every format. It's on Xbox One, 360, PC, and yeah, it's. You haven't played this, have you?
No, I've not. No.
Okay, I mean, I liked Sniper Elite V2.
Mm-hmm.
Some people clearly think this is the superior game, but I think Sniper Elite 3 is definitely the lesser game of those two. It purports to be bigger and more open than the previous Sniper Elite games, but it's just an illusion. The formula now dictates that fundamentally this is a linear experience with invisible walls and scenery guiding you down sort of linear pathways. The pathways are slightly larger than they have been in the past, and there are a couple of sequences where you can sort of do things in a different order. But this is essentially the same thing, only bigger and slightly less functional than before. I mean, it has to be said, the gunplay is really solid. They have nailed the sniper gunplay. If you've not played one of these games before, it's very similar to other shooters, but just perfectly refined. You line a shot up, you hold your breath, and then you have to line up this shrinking red diamond that appears, and if you do that, you'll execute the perfect shot. It's just fun. They hit upon a winning formula, a winning collection of mechanics, and it still works. So if you're very forgiving, you will probably have a pretty decent time with this. I just encountered way too many bugs that legitimately made the game unenjoyable to play. There are loads of aesthetic quirks but they're kind of easy to sort of look beyond. But the gameplay ruining stuff, it's just a mess. And it's a needless mess too, really, because this kind of sense of scope and this desire to make it bigger and sort of, more options for the player. I mean, it just means the areas are larger and there are more enemies in it and they take longer to dispatch. It's not really bigger in any sort of meaningful sense. But everything outside the gunplay is just unbelievably dicey. It still has this old-fashioned system where dramatic music plays until every last enemy is killed, which takes away any suspense at all, except on a couple of occasions I got shot in the back by a silent guy kneeling in a corner somewhere, which at first I thought maybe that's me falling for a trick. Maybe the game's sort of tested me. I should have been more careful, but it only happened twice and it definitely felt to me like it was a bug. And, if an enemy's standing in front of a tiny bit of scenery, you can't execute them. There are large blades of grass which can apparently deflect bullets. If you want to check the trajectory of a grenade, once you've pressed that button, the only way to back out is to fall off some scenery deliberately. There's still this system where you mask the sound of your gunfire by shooting at the same time as noises that occur periodically in the background, but that only works 50% of the time, which is amazingly irritating. If you're in an area with 12 enemies and you see one walk off and you catch him when he's in the corner and you fire at the perfect time only for everyone to hear you and know exactly where you are, it's really, really quite irritating. And it's just... the world is amazingly inconsistent. You can transition from crouching to standing and a guy on the other side of the level will hear that somehow. At the same time, you can shoot a guy to death with your pistol and he's yelling for help, but the guy in the next room won't hear anything.
Right.
you can clear out an area completely, and this happened to me loads, and it was really, really irritating. Is that you can clear out an enemy, clear out an area of all enemies, and there is still NPC dialogue, complete with subtitles on the bottom of the screen, playing on the soundtrack to make you cautious. And you're like, I can hear voices, but there's no one there. It's the voices there to try and make you be cautious when you could be sprinting to the checkpoint. That really bothered me. And so on and so. I mean, there's just, I don't know where to. I saw this building vanish in front of me, and I ended up firing shots at these Nazis that were just kneeling in the sky. I saw two enemies morph into each other, and they were walking around as one. So I sort of melee killed one, and the other one stepped out of the other body and then shot me, and I was dead. And the AI does that terrible thing where you line up the perfect shot and then it decides to move, and it's just like, just Dark Ages dog shit. Stuff that shouldn't be allowed in the game. Just frustrating as anything. Although one thing I will say is that aside from all of that rubbish, the AI is much better. The enemies are really crafty, so if you have 7 tags per area, I think, so you have to tag them so you know where they are, because otherwise they'll sneak up on you, and they're really quite devious. So that's definitely an improvement. There was a couple of moderately thrilling sequences when I was trying to sort of maneuver around guys that were being quite crafty. But yeah, the last straw for me was when the game got completely confused, and I was at a checkpoint which I just had to walk past, but the game thought that I had to perform a secondary objective. So every time I passed the checkpoint, it didn't do anything. I had to kill a vehicle that was patrolling the area, but my last save point started me as that vehicle was literally driving outside of the game. So I had to sprint after this vehicle, and all of the vehicles in the game, you fire at them, they turn around and start firing at you. This one just wanted to get the hell out of Dodge. So I was in order to progress, I had to sprint after this thing that was trying to get away from me and actually move outside the game. Ridiculous, but there were breaks in the game that were almost as severe as that throughout. So look, it is a mess. I mean, I think its main problem is that it's trying to convince people that it's some gigantic, monstrous blockbuster, and it's not. It's a reasonably small team, a reasonably modest game. I mean, Sniper Elite V2 knew what it was, it knew what it offered, and it delivered pretty solidly on that. And this just feels kind of deceitful, like it's trying to be something that it isn't. I mean, keeping things small as they were, or smaller as they were in Sniper Elite V2, would have made for a better game. Not just better because it would have avoided the multitude of bugs that are in this, but because it's not quite as much fun entering a space of 12, 15 enemies when you know that the likelihood of being spotted is almost 100%. And as usual, you're dissuaded from using your other weapons because they're rubbish and they take ages to reload. You're not supposed to use them, although you have no choice. Again, V2 did that as well, but here you really are. Your hands are tied. You have no choice. A lot of junctures. But in addition to that's the other thing. The whole campaign is you can do it on co-op, which is a really decent thing. And there's some really decent. There's a really decent version of Horde on here. And there's a couple of co-op modes which include Overwatch, which I don't know if you remember that, where one of you's up high and the other one has to go and perform objectives on the ground. Really good mode, but there's no matchmaking in those sort of co-op modes. You have to know someone else who has the game or organise with them before. Sorry,
I was about to ask if there was normal multiplayer.
There is normal multiplayer. Which I have played on and off extensively over the launch weekend, and for the most part, it just threw me into a lobby that would never fill up, so I'd be in games on my own. But I did get into a handful, 2 or 3 full games, and I'm sure if you get the right people playing it, it is quite fun. But I found out that you're far more likely to get shot in the back with a shotgun than sniped. Right. I don't think it's all of the problems you'd expect from. Yeah, but there is a mode where you can set you're sectioned into different halves of the map, so you can't run a shotgun someone in the back. So that's quite a decent addition. Okay, I don't know. It's just also one more thing. The manual save there. I didn't realise there was manual save, but you can save manually several times, and there's loads of slots, and it's actually quite efficient. But the auto save system can sometimes cause you to lose up to. I lost half an hour of progress at one point.
Blimey.
So you're tempted. When I was playing, I was tempted to do a manual save every single time that I got a kill, because that's how frequently you're liable to. So that's another thing that's a problem. I don't know. Sniper Elite 3 is a solidly okay game that's just sunk by its own scrappiness. I mean, if you can ignore how many things pull you out of the world and how pull you out of the flow of action, you may have some fun with it. But as someone who's a fan of Sniper Elite V2, this is definitely a disappointment.
Yeah, that has been sort of quite contrary to what a lot of people have said, but that does sound like a bit of a disappointment. But it does also sound like a lot of the experiences I had with V2. But
just bugs and stuff?
Bugs and periods where the game systems didn't really allow you to... Like the second level in V2 is a nightmare where you have to go in through these tunnels and the stealth doesn't work properly.
Yeah.
But... maybe I'll get a chance to play it at some point. I do quite fancy some next gen ball shots, but apart from that,
that's even more. It's even more full on. I don't know how the sort of right wing tabloid press haven't got a hold of this, because it's so much more severe than any other video game. I mean, it is. You do look at it, just think, what am I doing sitting here and watching a man's balls explode? They're really and they've added really nauseating sound effects, like you shoot a guy in the neck and it's really just quite unpleasant. You can turn them off, thankfully, because after a while you just thought, I can't hack much more of this. But I can't believe that the Daily Mail hasn't got a hold of this, because I think video games would probably have been banned by now.
All right, that's it, isn't it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much for listening. Episode 120 in the can. It's a bit quiet at the moment, isn't it? There's not many games out, but
true.
Yeah, they're going to come out again soon. It's not as bad as it used to be back in the day. They only ever came out in November. So stop complaining. Thank you very much for listening. As always, check us out on Twitter at John Denton, at Chet Roivas, at Chet and Johns for the podcast channel. Twitter. I don't know why I said that. So that wasn't even the right words. There is Facebook, but I wouldn't recommend it. There is the YouTube channel, which I would recommend, especially Chet's Week in Batters, which is a very, very funny video series, which deserves more views. Everybody says that, so tell people about it. Try and get people to watch it. I'm sure eventually one of those will spike and go viral. It's only a matter of time. And then finally, what else can you do? Do what you want, really. Watch the World Cup. Just make sure you wear sunscreen and put it on your moles, and keep it real for me. Thanks.
Thank you very much for listening. See you next week.
Bye.
Coaches so often say to players, treat the ball as a friend. And the unstoppable force in possession yet again. In more than one way, John. It was his right foot. Know what I mean?